In this episode of Mighty Car Mods, we are continuing work on our mad 180SX.
What's white, what's 90s, and what does mad skids?
Me.
This thing. This is a 180SX with a blacktop SR20. We put a new turbo on it from an S15. He put a front mounting intercooler on it. I'm going to rebuild the brakes, put them all back together. I painted them red because it looks mad. It does. 25 kilowatts. As we know, anyone who's watching for a long time will know exactly what that's about.
That's why, Martin, we do red chopped lanyards, by the way.
Fast
we used to just
segue.
do black Mighty Car Mods ones, but now we do red chopped ones. They're awesome, particularly if they've got a key hanging off them for a Volkswagen Up, which is the best white manual car we have.
Or a 180SX. Dude, the best white manual car we have is the Super Turbo.
It is. It's better than the Yaris, and it's better than that Beamer.
The Yaris is close. Anyway, we're going to get straight to work. There's also some coilovers to go in.
Yep, so today Shockworks put together some coilovers for us, so they are going in. We've removed the front ones because the brakes come out. I've got to get rid of the ones at the back. You're rebuilding the brakes. Today we want it to roll again, finish off the turbo, and do some piping and stuff. We've got a clutch to go in. There's body kits and stuff to go on there. There's a new bar, like a Type X bar, which is pretty exciting.
Mad.
New stuff at the back. Things have been coming from all over the world. So a lot of this stuff we ordered many, many months ago, and there's kind of a wing from one country, a thing from another country. So stuff's come from Japan, it's come from America, it's come from Europe, come from Australia, it's come from South Sydney. So lots to do. Let's just dive right into it.
We've decided to rebuild the factory brakes, which should be fine for now for our 180SX with 180 kilowatts. Marty's also given them a coat of heat-proof red paint, and we've got a whole video on how to do this if you want to check it out. Meanwhile, I'm working in the boot trying to get out the existing coilovers, which is proving to be harder than expected.
So I've managed to get one nut off in the back of this 180SX.
That's grot, man.
But
That's grot.
which is a 12 mil, but my 12 mil
info.
spanner now does not fit on the other nut. So why is it when someone's installed the coilovers, only 2 nuts are required? Why would they be different? And why this one here is okay, the other one is just completely rounded over? Why? You don't need to do them that tight. I don't understand.
The car came with coilovers of unknown conditions, so we're going to flip them and install a set of new ones. We've also got some mad new slotted brake discs for the front and the back, which along with a pad upgrade will be perfect for this level of performance and means we don't have to mess around with the master cylinder or the booster. We're installing a set of Shockworks coilovers that we've had made specifically for this build that have been valved and sprung to suit how we want the car to handle. It is possible to ruin a car's ride if you get the specs really wrong, so it pays to do some research first. In our case, with this car now being a classic, we've gone for a setup that's good for 80% pace, foremost to enjoy the driving experience. We're running 7 kilo and 4 kilo springs and one of 15 different valve specs to specifically suit S13 for street driving. But for a sometimes track car like this, there is enough flexibility in the built-in adjustment to have a bit of fun. Only if we went up in a tyre size or went full race car will we need to pull it all out and rebuild to suit higher speed and bigger tyres.
So before we put the new brakes on, we're just cleaning up the hub and just getting rid of all the grease and grime and grot that's on there. Of course, to clean the brakes, we're using WD-40 Specialist Brake Cleaner. That's exactly what this is made for. So we're basically going to give that a good shake, soak all of that up, and then I'm going to agitate it with a wire brush. Got a little pan to sit underneath to just catch all of the grot, and then that'll be nice and clean for our new brake upgrade.
After my big battle with the original factory bolt, I've decided to install an adjustable camber bolt kit into the top. Whiteline make this one. It gives you up to 1.5 degrees camber adjustment at the bottom of the hub. Sometimes you also have adjustment on the top of your coilover, and you can also actually use both just to fine tune it to get the angle right and to get your alignment perfect. Bullshit, you didn't.
I did not.
It's so full of
I
shit.
actually didn't mean
it's
to get
so
you
full
big.
of shit. Go.
I didn't.
Go.
Sorry, I did.
Do it.
I'm trying to. Sorry.
It's important that new discs are cleaned before you install them, as they often come from the manufacturer covered in a film of oil to prevent them corroding on the shelf. We'll be installing some braided lines when they finally arrive. I'm also going to touch up some bits that I mangled when I was installing the calipers.
Did you get a special 180SX autographed poster yet? They're only available for a limited time, and once they're gone, they are gone forever.
We have made some progress, people. We've got our list, and we've just added 5 items, and we're probably only going to cross off 1 or 2. But I feel like we've made progress, even if the list does not agree.
It was meant to be a fairly simple project, really. It was meant to be...
It is simple.
It was meant to be... I don't want it to turn into yellow Civic.
Don't worry. That'll never happen again. Coilovers.
Coilovers done.
Done.
They're in there.
Brake calipers, paint. Done. Rotors and pads. Done.
All of that still to do.
All that's still to do. So some of this stuff is going to be much easier to do on a hoist, like changing the clutch. So we're going to head over to Super Garage to do that, and also our sway bars.
Yeah, as you may have seen in some of our other videos now, we have a secondary overflow workshop, which is called Super Garage.
With a hoist.
So we are still Mighty Car Mods. This is the Mighty Car Mod space. There's just a garage that's kind of a collaborative space that our friends are using as well. So we'll have to go over there today and try and get ourselves onto our own hoist.
Sounds good to me.
But it means that we can now get on a hoist and do some of this stuff. We could struggle on here, but why? When we can just go over there and do that.
There's also some things that, like for example, our turbo's on, so we could put our exhaust back on, but you've got to pull the exhaust off anyway to do the clutch.
Yeah.
So that's going to stay off for a little while. Wheels are still on their way. Brakes are done. No point bleeding that either until we can also get that on a hoist. We can gravity bleed it and we can check everything and just flush it all out and do some of our oils.
Yeah. So all of this stuff here, that there, we're going to pack up in the truck and take over there. And there's also, if you just swing it over here, we've got some seats. They're coming soon. And then all of this is all mostly genuine Nissan stuff that has come from overseas. So all of that's got to go in as well. And then there's a new front bar as well. And yeah, all sorts of exciting things in here that we'll get to soon. So anyway, for now, we're going to take it down off the quick jacks and take the car over to Super Garage and continue on the hoist. So this here is our all new workshop, Super Garage, where we go when things get a bit too complicated or not enough hoisty at the other place. There's a whole bunch of Super Garage merch if you want to check it out. You can go to supergarage.com.au, and you know what, let's just get crazy. If you enter the coupon code 180SX, you get a discount.
Sweet.
Let's call it 10% off. You can grab yourself a shirt or something mad. All right, so now we can get on the hoist. And hopefully this becomes a whole lot easier.
The back's too low to get on the hoist, so we have to jack it up because we didn't adjust the coilovers before we put them in.
Martin, what would you have though? I mean, you've got two mad white Nissans right here.
Yeah.
What would you have? It's not a hard choice, is it? Out of these two white Nissans.
Kind of a hard decision.
Out of these two white Nissans that are over here. See these two white Nissans that are over here,
I can't see them
Martin?
because I'm just distracted by this blue coupe from the 80s that's just so sick and triangle-y and Dorito-y.
I mean, the choice is, I mean, which one would you have, Martin? Say it on 3. 1, 2, 3, 180SX.
It's not what people want to hear. It's not what the internet thinks. That is a whole generation older and feels it when you drive it. But it's about the feel and the spirit, and it's about the noise and the visceral, emotional in touchness with your butt.
The answer is a 240Z with an RB. Don't listen to any of this bullshit.
A what?
But this is, actually the answer is both.
Yeah, both.
As long as it's not a rotary, I'm in. You?
I agree with that.
While we're on the hoist, I'm going to be changing all the fluids, including the engine oil, which hasn't been done in years. We're also going to be installing some more handling mods, which means the factory sway bar can go in the bin.
Now we're up on the hoist, perfect opportunity to upgrade our sway bars. Now Whiteline, who are a sponsor of the show, have sent a bunch of parts to basically modernise the sway bars that's on our car. The 180, designed in the probably early to mid 80s, did come with factory sway bars, which is pretty cool. The ones that we're putting on basically mirror them, but they're also adjustable, which means you can fine tune the way it behaves. It also comes with a mounting kit, which is pretty extensive actually, heavy duty, new rubbers that go through the middle as well. And then this basically converts it so that you can use a blade type adjustable sway bar, which looks like this. So the factory one, the mounts come up the bottom, just sort of bends around and whatever. The bushes are a bit cracked, so these kind of need to be changed anyway. This sway bar, we are basically adapting it so that you can select the different holes in here, and that changes how rigid the bar is, which changes the way that the car responds. So during alignment or even just when you're out in the track, whatever, you can get in there, just take one bolt out, throw it through the next one, put it back in, and you've been able to fine tune the way it behaves, usually to do with oversteer and understeer.
So a sway bar is a part of a car's suspension setup that is designed to connect both sides of the car together to provide some rigidity so that when the car is turning, instead of tipping over, the opposite side of the car is actually working in harmony with the side that wants to tip over. Now, with a four-wheel drive, for example, like when we're off-road with the Jimny, we actually wanted the two sides of the car to be operating independently, so we took the sway bar out completely. Why would you change it? To offer some more rigidity, and also with aftermarket ones, you actually get different options of how it's set up and some adjustability like on these white line ones.
So the classic way of upgrading your sway bars is just to get the factory one and just put a bigger one on. So it's just actually fatter, mounts in the same spot, but it's a bigger diameter, which means it's stiffer, which means it has more of an effect. So these ones are called blade adjustable, which means you can just change where it's mounted, and that in some ways lets it sort of artificially increase the diameter of the bar because it's all stiffer. So you mount with the hole close to the bar, that's going to make it stiffer, and further away is going to make it a bit looser. You adjust it front to back to sort of dial in what you want the car to do. You also don't have to have coilovers, you don't have to have any fancy suspension in the car. You can literally get a stock car, sway bars and some good tyres, and there's people that will just pump everyone with that setup because it just stops it rolling, dials in the understeer or out of the understeer, whatever it is you want, and you just go smash everyone with it.
And I think like with a lot of modifications for the car, it always comes down to working out a ratio or a bias based on what your interests are. I mean, you can make a track car that is great for the track, but then maybe there's a downside of that. And the Lotus was a really good example, you know, really great on the track, but not a great car for just kind of driving around day to day. The other reason for changing this stuff is that underneath this car, all of these kind of mounts, the bushings, this stuff's like 30, 35 years old. And if nothing else, it's a great opportunity to change all of those things, but our philosophy is always, if you're going to pull the stuff off, you may as well replace it with something better, which is what we're going to do.
And if you can't get these parts for your car, replace those, because a lot of they're common, or you can get them remade in the same. If you've got something really weird and rare that doesn't have aftermarket stuff, replace those bushings because they get real stiff and then sort of stop doing what they're meant to do.
While the car's on the hoist, we also decided to install a new clutch and get rid of any old juice that's been sloshing around for years. After going to the effort of removing the gearbox, it actually looks like somebody's already installed a new clutch with next to no use, so it can all go back together with some new gearbox oil.
The end links connect the sway bar to the rest of the suspension, and in the case of our uprated ones, they are adjustable. It means you can set the preload during an alignment, and this usually means relaxing the bar so it doesn't actually activate until you load it up through a corner. In terms of initial settings to get it to the alignment shop, we want to match the factory positioning as much as we can. And with the end links in place, we can then install the mounting bushings and we're all done.
Pretty much everything you can see in the background there, with the exception of maybe the laptop and the drink bottle, have to go in the car before it starts.
Yeah.
But we have some things to go in, like a fuel system up here, some ignition coils over here, some intake piping, some intercooler piping.
Injectors.
Injectors. Kind of not much. Actually, it's actually not that much, and this is fun because we're going to make it all work.
Let's
Dude, we got this.
Let's call it for what it is.
We've got this.
We've got injectors, we've got coils, we've got intake, there's some turbo bits, there's exhaust, there's our Haltech that's actually going to make it work. We've got no fuel. We just checked, if we were professional, this would have a thing on it that says no oil. You know they always get a little brown tag with a bit of string? Yeah. That's not on there. At least these are done up. I call that Hilux tight.
90s Nugget is your middle name. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, so there's a little bit to do, but what
I'm getting super keen.
I can assure you that, actually I can't assure you that it's going to start because this car's...
Yeah, but it's got a new turbo.
That's why we're doing all of this work.
But there's nothing better than putting a new turbo on your car.
Yes, that's right. And so that's what we think was wrong with it. We don't actually know.
No idea.
It hasn't been started or driven for years. I mean years. So we could get through all of this, turn the key, and it just goes kick it, and then we just get back to Volkswagen Up. We just get back to stuff that worked. No, this is way better than enough. I'm not even going to shoot you with that. This is actually where it's at.
Bloody excellent.
We're going for a massive 180 kilowatts.
It's gonna be excellent.
Martin, let's
just
kick the tunes. What kind of tunes do you want? You want some hip hop? You want some EDM? You want some D&B, some jungle?
I want EDM, D&B.
All right, let's kick it. Let's get some work done to my Mad 180.
In the late 80s, there would have been a whole bunch of business meetings involving Sake and Crab to wheel and deal an injection and ignition system for this car from the various suppliers around Japan. Nissan themselves would have spec'd what they wanted, and then the accounts department would have torn it up and given them side feed injectors and coils that always crack. Fast forward 30 years, and we have an enormous aftermarket and technology that can make power reliably that those engineers could only have dreamed of back in the day. So we're going to throw in a set of top feed injectors into a new fuel rail, add a GFB pressure regulator, and then set the whole lot on fire with a set of NGK coil packs spec'd for an Audi R8 that makes somewhere upwards of 400 kilowatts. Importantly, it's all new with 0 kilometres on it, meaning reliable power with plenty of headroom to turn it up later.
So GFB in Australia have sent me a box full of stuff for my Mad 180SX. So in here we have what is this? A boost gauge. I didn't even know they made boost gauges. They've been sponsors of our show for like a decade. I didn't know that they made boost gauges. But look at that, that's like one of the Mad, like it's all blacked out. And then when you turn it on, it's gonna light up and be unreal. That's really cool. We'll run that definitely. Got a bunch of fittings in here. We have it's probably a fuel pressure, it is, fuel pressure gauge here, and some associated fittings. And then of course, here it is. This is what we're all about. This is the, you would have seen these on the show. GFB, they're the best blow-off valves in the world. They just are. We've used them forever, designed and made in Australia by our mate Brett. We've actually got a whole series on our second channel, MCM TV2, where he comes and does a bunch of technical videos about boost leaks and smoke tests and all sorts of really technical, interesting stuff. So I'll link that up there, or link it down below. This here, of course, is a valve that I've used in so many different cars because it has this awesome bias, so you can either vent all the way out the schnorkel, or you can kind of recirculate it, or bias it anywhere in between. That is awesome. And there's a bunch of fittings and other bits and pieces in here. That's unreal. Thank you for sending that over. Let's keep going. Let's keep installing. We're going for big power, people, 180 kilowatts. Oh, and there's also our GFB fuel pressure regulator. I think you meant to open this. I'm pretty sure it says open on a table so you don't drop stuff out of it. Not like this. There it is. So the fuel rail is in, the fuel pressure regulator and gauge is in. I'm about to do the fuel filter. The old one, the stuff coming out of it just looked like mud, just like dark brown.
And this smells like old shellacky, like fence paint.
Smells great.
So that's, bad thing about having them sitting around while you're getting ready to fix them up. But the good thing is we can drain the fuel tank, and basically every bit of the fuel system is now new, including all the way up to the injectors. And this is a really nice top feed conversion. Really common now because these injectors are like a more modern and available system than using side feeds. We were going to just slap new side feeds in it, but then couldn't get them in time or whatever. So top feed rail, the only difference is you've got to sort of customise your own bits. But if you're putting an aftermarket fuel pressure regulator in any way, it's not that big a deal. Fuel goes in one side, comes out the other, through the reg, back to the tank. Job done. And a gauge on the front, which is super easy to set your pressure.
We're starting it today, people. Car's going to start. So stoked.
The other mad thing is these little adapters. So these go on the injectors because the injectors are, I don't know, Bosch or something. And then our connectors are standard Nissan, so that also saves you having to cut everything up and resolder everything. The wiring doesn't quite fit in its factory location, so I've just sort of started to strip it back and we'll tuck it in and make it look neat.
When it comes to boost, we need to add a valve in line with the hose supplying pressure to the turbo wastegate diaphragm. The function of the wastegate is to regulate how much exhaust gas passes through the turbine and how much pressure is vented out. By lowering the pressure to the diaphragm, more boost is required to open the wastegate valve, which results in higher levels of boost. We'll achieve this by installing an aftermarket boost control solenoid. Its function is to allow the pressure supplied to the wastegate diaphragm to be controlled by the ECU, in our case, a Haltech Elite 1500.
So most of the work under the bonnet or the hood, if you're a friend from the USA, has been done. Next up, we need to make the thing all work. Haltech run an adapter, which is this. This is plug and play. So basically we've got a Haltech Elite 1500, and this here will plug directly into the factory loom, which is freaking awesome. And then we can get the car on the dyno so that Scotty can dial up our magical 180 kilowatts. It's probably gonna make a little bit more than that. I don't want 1 kilowatt more. 220.
240. It's 240Z, isn't it? No, it's a 240S. What are these in America?
They call them the 240s SX.
240 SX.
Is that what they call them?
Yeah.
What a dumb name.
It's weird, because it's got a 2.4 litre in it.
Does it? That's a smart
180's got a 2 litre in it, work that out. Anyway, the reason that this is kind of cool is this is like an adapter plug. So the factory wiring loom goes click straight into there, and then out of here we go from these plugs, and then that plugs directly into the back of our Haltech, like that. Super simple, and what we've tried to do is use as much existing factory wiring as we can, unlike some of the old crud we've worked on lately, Mazda RX-7, where the wiring was completely cactus. This stuff's pretty good. So we can use like the factory boost controller wire, and that will incorporate this.
Yep.
So we don't have to run any wires through the firewall, even the new coils we put in, through the firewall.
I'm going to install it.
Fantastic.
Right now. All right, there is the factory ECU
In the bin.
being replaced with this. I do have some sad news though. We're not going to be able to get it started today. We're
What?
actually missing some stuff from the intake.
Yeah,
So-
we are. I'm going to go pick it up like now, and we'll start it tomorrow. We're going to
Yeah.
start it, don't worry.
We'll start it tomorrow.
It's going to be so good, man.
Haltech make a patch harness that makes this ECU a direct plug-in, and it's all pre-configured for our car, making this super easy.
The 180SX list is getting shorter. We did a whole big day of it. Haltech,
I just
Done.
did that. Boost controller.
yep.
Is
Sway
in.
bars are in.
What does P plus mean?
I don't know what the P means.
Okay.
Coils and wiring I've done. Awesome.
Then
Exhaust
not.
can't go on yet.
Exhaust can't. Oils. We've done diff box, not engine.
We've done brake lines, which I think I saw somewhere here, or brakes. Oh, lead brakes, brake lines, yep, done.
Yep, that's done. Wheels, not yet.
Spark plugs,
Body
done.
kit, not yet. Spark plugs, done.
Turbo
Dampers,
drain.
no turbo
No, I have to
drain.
drill that out.
None of that. What's gross?
brake lines.
What's gross member nuts?
Cross member nuts.
Oh, okay. Good.
That's good, man. It's getting there. I mean, that's an easy one. Just throw some tyres on. That's got to go back on anyway. That happens at the same time. Engine oil's easy, and then these two are like big, and that's once we get it back from paint.
Thanks for watching this episode of Mighty Car Mods.
Mighty 180SX S13s are going to be so sick. I can't even believe how excited I am about this old nugget, but it's really good, man.
It's going to be
It's
good.
really coming together.
You want a Super Garage shirt like him, or a Super Garage shirt like me, or a Super Garage shirt like you? Then you can get one of them from supergarage.com.au. That is this mad workshop space.
And you can even wear these ones when you work on cars, which is generally a bad idea, but I'm like, nah, I'm going to run the gauntlet and see how I go. And it's going
job.
to wash out, it'll be fine.
Nice.
Because it's not that dirty.
Martin, let's go get a big stinky kebab
I want a burger
and then finish this.
All right.
A kebab is just a burger
in a wrap
in a wrap.
with different meat and different
different
veggies
taste
and different
cultural
different
history.
everything, basically.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah, it's completely different. I still want one though.